and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know.
You know, one of my favorite things about having guests on the podcast is that they get to hear our cheesy theme song for the first time. And of course, this is someone we're just getting to know for the first time. We're super excited to talk to a face you're going to be seeing a lot of in Sacramento. He's going to be doing play-by-play for the Sacramento Kings. He'll be on NBC Sports California, pre, half, and post. He's coming from Boston. He's the one and only Kyle Draper. Kyle, how you doing, man? Welcome to Sacramento.
What is up, guys? I'm so excited. Let's go. I'm ready. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, what's this been like for you the last week? I know it's got to be bittersweet in a way because you've just spent the last 11 years in Boston. That's like home, and now you're moving to the West Coast for this exciting new opportunity with the Kings.
Yeah, and it has been bittersweet. It has been emotional because, you know, if you would have told me 6 months ago that I'd be uprooting the family, ripping the kids out of school and taking the wife, loading up and headed west, I thought you were crazy. But then this opportunity came on, and so it's exciting to look forward. It's exciting to be able to work, you know, with a great organization, be able to be around you guys as well. But it's also sad to be leaving, like you said, what I consider home now, a Boston community that's really accepted me. And so, you know, I just want to get there and get started. You know, this transition phase I'm not good at. You know, this is all the emotional stuff going on right now, the warm and fuzzy stuff. I'm not good with that, you know?
No, and I know, as excited as you are, I know Sacramento Kings fans are always excited for new people to come in as well. And for you, though, it's also got to be a transition, too, because you're going from the Boston Celtics, the standards there in Boston. You know, we know what those standards are. Where in Sacramento, it's just going to be really different. It's, hey, let's try and get to the postseason. Let's try to develop this young core. How different is that going to be for you to experience such different basketball?
Very different, but you know, it's interesting. I was just talking to somebody, and I've sort of been around the Celtics at their worst and at their best. Let's not forget, Brad Stevens' first year, they won 25 games. They were, you know, they were awful, and then they slowly built, and now, you know, they're a contender. And so I see the same, you know, happening with Sacramento. Some good young players the Kings have, and so, you know, I'm hoping maybe I could sprinkle a little of my good luck on the franchise, and you know, we could make a playoff push this year.
I want to talk more about the Kings job in a bit, but let's get to know Kyle a little bit. What was Kyle Draper like growing up as a kid? Like, were you always into sports broadcasting? Were you playing sports? What were you into?
I was playing a lot of sports. Like, every day, basketball was my thing. You know, I was a basketball junkie. You know, my first basketball memory is Philadelphia 76ers. That's where I'm from, Philly, winning the championship in '83. And so my mom will tell you, I've always had a basketball in my hand. You know, I played basketball every day. And so I've always been a fan of the association, the NBA. But I never really thought about being a play-by-play person. You know, it's interesting. Sure, growing up, you know, you sit in front of the TV and you say, Dr. J to Andrew, Tony, you know, you sort of do it, but you don't really think that's a career. And so, you know, it hit me a few years ago when I, you know, was here in Boston. I said, all right, what's the next step for me in my career path? You know, I had done the sideline reporting, the studio hosting, the anchoring, and, you know, play-by-play seemed like the next, you know, move career-wise for me. But it's not something I went to school for. Like, you know, I started out as an engineering major in college. And then yeah, exactly. And so my first 3 years in college, I was an engineering major. Then my, you know, junior year, second half of my junior year, I switched to broadcasting and communications. And, you know, I told Mark Jones this, I told Doug Christie. It's funny because when I was an engineering student, I was like a C student. I couldn't pass this one math class. It was differential equations. I failed it once, dropped it twice. And so that sort of spurred me to make that change. And so I said, you know what? I like sports. I like it on TV. Let me try this. And ever since then, man, it's just been, you know, one, you know, blessing after another, making the dean's list and now getting this great opportunity as well.
That's awesome. And what I love about that is everyone's journey is different. You know, like I think some people who are trying to get in this business, like kids in college, they think there's like a direct path. There's no real path. I mean, you have to try different things. You were going to school for something else, and you're like, I got to chase my passion. What would you tell like young people in this business about trying to get in? What does it take to grind and get to that next level?
Well, I mean, you just said the word. It's a grind. You guys know it's not easy. I mean, think about it, especially when you're first starting out. You're working nights. You're working weekends. You're working holidays, and it's a grind. And I tell young people, this really is a business of perseverance. If you stick with it, you'll reach your goals. You'll reach your dreams. But I remember, I work with Scal out here a lot, and he told a group of kids, he said, everybody's path is different. And that stuck with me. And like you said, Deuce, I mean, you can't compare yourself to, your friends. You can't look at your friends and say, oh, they're doing that. How come I'm not doing that? You just got to stay in your lane, do your role, do your best. And trust me, if you stick with it, man, you'll make it. It's hard. It's long hours. It's not a lot of pay early on. You're working nights and weekends. But if you really want to do it, stick with it. You'll get there.
So East Coast to West Coast, what ultimately made this the right fit for you? Because this is a big move. Huge
move, right? A huge move. And I talked about the emotions that go into a move like this. But I used to live on the West Coast. I lived in Washington State. I worked in Yakima. My wife is from Spokane, Washington. And even back in high school, I sort of had an affinity for the West Coast. I was into West Coast rap music, Bay Area rap music back then. And I always thought, eventually I would love to live in California. And so, I lived in Yakima. Then ultimately we wound up here in Boston for the last 11 years. But it's fast out here in Boston. Things are moving, shaking. It's the East Coast. It's rugged. It's hardcore. And then, an opportunity like this to come to Sacramento, which is a little bit slower pace, it allows me to breathe a little bit. And let's not forget, it's a great job too, guys. I mean, it's a great organization. You guys know, you guys are NBA fans. You're diehard NBA. Once you're inside the NBA, you're really part of a family. And so to be like fully in the NBA now, I couldn't turn this down. This is a golden opportunity. And we have family in Sacramento. My aunt lives in Folsom. Wow. My wife has sisters in Southern California. So this was a family move also.
Wow.
And I know every NBA fan base is their fan base is the best. Sacramento is near the top. And I know you cover the league, so you get it. But like, I think you'll even feel it even more so once you're here in the vibe, because it's a one sports town. Like Boston, you have so many sports, and the fan bases there are super passionate. But man, there's just something special about Sacramento. I'm born and raised here. So is Morgan. And to see the thirst just and passion for this team, even during the tough times, it does fire you up. And like, as someone who's born and raised in Sacramento, to work for the team that I grew up watching is just, it's mind-blowing at times. And, getting the chance to get to know someone like Doug Christie, who you'll be working with a lot, it is just so fun to feel that bond that this community has with the team.
Yeah, and, I just remember over the years, back when C. Webb and those guys were on the team, just how loud of a place it would be. They would talk about, Sacramento having the loudest arena in the entire NBA. And you're right, it being a one-sport town, a one-team town. And that attracted me too. Let's be honest, because, the fan base is fully invested in what the team does. And obviously the ownership is great. I love, some of the social things the ownership is doing, being a part of the community as well. But you're right, man. I'm looking forward to experiencing it firsthand, the passion of these Kings fans. The thing about Boston fans, they're passionate too. But if the Celtics lose, trust me, they're angry and upset about it. I want to see how Kings fans react to wins and losses. Do they live and die with each game? I want to hear from them, because I'm going to be as passionate as you guys are out there.
So, Kyle, I heard that, you can ball, and you obviously told us that you grew up playing basketball. What former Kings player would you compare your game to?
Oh, that's going to be good. All right.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm sort of like, I can be a C-Web kind of player. Because,
Kyle.
C-Web? I'm not 6'10", but I can handle the ball. I got a great post game. I'm a good passer as well. You know, I could have said like white chocolate or something like that, but I don't have the passing, you know, I don't have the handles like him. But no, I'm a C-Web, because the thing about C-Web, he's an all-around player, right? I mean, he could beat you with his rebounding. He could beat you with his passing. Obviously, he could score. He could handle the rock, grab the rebound, take it, and go, you know. And so I would say C-Web. I never really had like an outside game, you know, where I wasn't like a deadly three-point shooter, so I don't want to go that route. I'm not going to say like a Buddy or anything like that, but sort of an all-around game. That was my game.
It's funny, Kyle, because, you know, we know that you know CBS 13's Marshall Harris, and he told us that your game's a lot like Zebo's. So
Zach Randolph.
I don't know. I don't know who to believe.
All right, I love Zebo too, so I'm not going to hate on that. You know, when I played with Marshall, I think I dominated him in the post. I was physical with him, hitting with a couple of elbows, so I think that's what he's referring to, Zebo. But I could stretch it out also. I got the mid-range jumper, and I could pass the ball. A little more complete of a game.
I know some hardcore NBA fans have seen you over the years filling in on the Boston Celtics play-by-play. They see you doing pre and post in Boston. But for those who haven't seen you, what can Kings fans expect from you, like your style? I mean, you seem like you have a great joy of the game, and that's, I think, that's when basketball is a fun game to play. When it's at its best, it's fun. It seems like you have a lot of fun on your broadcasts.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny because I remember when I auditioned for this role, I forget who told me. They told me, you know, I'm going to have to sort of calm Doug Christie down, like Doug gets super hyped during the games. And I said, forget Doug. He's going to have to calm me down because I'm that guy jumping out my seat also. And so, you know, when I did the audition, I told the people with the Kings in NBC Sports California, I'm sort of like, you know, Magic Johnson. I don't know if you got this story it has been told a million times. It was Magic's first game in the NBA. Kareem hits a skyhook to win. This is game one of the season. Kareem hits a skyhook to win, and Magic celebrated like they just won the championship. I tell people that's how I am. That energy. Kareem told him to calm down, but like every single game, that energy, man. Like I said, I'm a fan of basketball. I'm a fan of the sport. You know, I'm a fan of the league, and so, you know, one thing I'll bring is energy. People always say, Kyle, it looks like you're having fun doing your job. And I am, man. Come on now. It's the NBA. It's basketball. How can't you have fun?
No, that's exactly right. And obviously, Doug Christie is so fun. And you worked with, you know, another former NBA player in Brian Scalabrine. So how excited are you to just work with another former NBA player on a broadcast?
No, I'm excited because, you know, I had heard so much about Doug, you know, beforehand. And then, you know, to meet him in person and to talk with him, the nicest guy. You know, he's already reached out to me 3 or 4 times. And so I'm excited. You know, Doug Christie is a guy I grew up watching, kind of. You know, I grew up following his career, you know, when he was at Pepperdine and then later the Kings and, you know, moving all around. And so it just, you know, I got to pinch myself, man, because I'm a kid from Philly living out a dream. And so to think that I, you know, be able to work with Scal, be able to work with Doug Christie, be able to have Luke Walton as the head coach, you know, I have no complaints in life right now. I know 2020 sucks, and it does, and it hurts everybody, and I feel everybody's playing, but I'm blessed, you know, and I'm excited.
I'm curious, you made the switch in college to pursue broadcasting. When was the moment you felt like you belonged? You know, like you're like, you know what? I'm trying this, but I know I can do this. When did you feel that?
That's an awesome question, because I would probably say I was in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'll be honest with you guys. Like, my career has been like amazing. I've been blessed at each stop. I'll give you a quick rundown. When I was in Yakima, when I first started out in La Crosse, Wisconsin, I started out as a news producer. Shortly after that, I got promoted to a weekend sports anchor. Then I went to Yakima, Washington as a news reporter. 7 months, 8 months later, I got promoted to weekend sports anchor. I go to Louisville, Kentucky as the number 3 sports person. 8 months in, I get promoted to the number 2 spot. 4 months later, I get promoted to the number 1 spot. I come to Boston. So as you see, everywhere I've been, it's sort of been, you know, the right move, and I've been promoted. And so I don't know if there was one time where I said, you know, I can do this. It just sort of, like, you'll get to know me. I just go with the flow. Every day is its own day. And so it's not, it's not like I sit back and say, I don't think I could do this. I just do my best each day, and whatever happens, happens, And so, 20 years in the business, 21 years or whatever it is, darn, 25 years. Sorry about that. I'm getting old. Oh my God. Close to 20 years or so, 25 years in the business. It's, I could say it's been a wild ride and a great ride.
It's good to have perspective on this too. You're one of 3 black play-by-play voices in the NBA. And I feel like obviously that's something to be proud of for sure. But I also, and Morgan and I have talked about this on previous podcasts, that number is way too low. And, we need more people of color in this business, not only from a broadcasting standpoint, but coaches and executives. And it's something that I think the NBA is very aware of moving forward. But with that said, to be one of 3, what does that mean to you?
That's, one of the reasons why I wanted this job so badly, is to sort of be, a role model for have young kids, and not just African Americans, all kids, really. When I tell you, I'm from Philadelphia, man. It wasn't easy growing up, I told this story to, the people I interviewed with, and on my street in Philly, there were 5 of us, 5 straight houses of young black kids like me. One is dead. The second house, he's dead. It's me. Another guy lives in Virginia, and then the 5th guy is in jail. So,
wow.
When I say I beat the odds, man, it's tough. And so I just want to give hope out there to everybody. And, a lot of times it's like, man, I don't know. I'm comfortable here in Boston. I have a great job. But it's about more than me, guys. It really is. It's about being an inspiration. I told the Kings that, I feel like I'm a uniter also. I'm someone that can bring people together. And so, it's about basketball. It's about the Draper household and doing what's best for us. But, I feel like at times, I want to have a bigger purpose in life, a bigger impact on people's lives than just the pre and post game host or even the play-by-play announcer. I want to get involved in the community when I get out there and try to make a difference.
I'm curious then, what were your parents like? Did they motivate you? Obviously you got into engineering first, but then when it did transition into broadcasting, were they right there with you?
Yeah, it's funny because my parents were awesome. Mom and dad still together and everything. They've been married, I don't know, almost 50 years.
Wow.
And I remember, well, first of all, I went into engineering because my uncle was an engineer at the time. And so I knew engineers made good money. I did like math and science. But after 3 years of struggling and being a C student, I said to myself, something has to change. And I remember, so I went to Temple, then I transferred to Winona State University. I followed a girl out there. And after my first semester, I told Mom and Dad, I said, I'm coming back home. I don't like it out here. It's different than Philly. And my parents said, Kyle, you're not coming back to this house. You stay out there and make the best of it. Wow. And they sort of empowered me to, figure out things on my own, you know what I mean? Solve my own problems and not look to Mom and Dad to solve the problems. And so they've been my biggest cheerleaders, my biggest support. And, from that moment on, I've never looked back. And, it's been 20 plus years, almost 25 years since I left. So, yeah, they did a great job. They always empowered me to go out there and chase my dreams, really.
You talked about beating the odds because of the environment you were in, the area you were in. Is that because of your parents too? Is that who kept you going down the right path as a youngster?
Yeah, parents, your neighborhoods, see, because that's the thing. Growing up in Philly, and it used to be like this in many neighborhoods around the country. You were raised not only by your parents, but you were raised by the neighborhood, And so if Miss Mary down the street saw you doing something wrong, she would tell you straighten up, And so I'm a product of not just my parents, not just my household, but really the entire community. We had a great church system, nearby, just a block away. They helped me tremendously throughout my career. So, I'm a product of not just, Philly, you know, that house I grew up in, but the whole neighborhood, man. And you know, I can't be honest with you enough at how many people have like sort of backed me and helped me and cheered for me. And it's been, you know, that's why I want to do this, right? That's why I can't just, you know, be comfortable in my little small bubble in my environment. I owe it to so many people that have helped me get to this point. And so that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, you're gonna absolutely love this community as well then in Sacramento, because it doesn't matter if it's the highs of highs with Kings basketball or the lows of lows. These people are here for each other through the good times and the bad. And so it's just another great community that you will definitely be a part of. And I know everyone's excited to meet you and have things go on. It's going to be an interesting but fun season in Sacramento with all the new changes. Do you have any expectations for this weird coming up season?
No, you know, I would love to say that, you know, they're going to get through all 72 games nice and smooth, but you really can't expect anything except the unexpected with everything that's going on, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I expect good basketball every single night. I expect exciting broadcast every single night. You know, I expect the Kings to be competitive every single night. But, you know, outside of that, it's, you know, you got to prepare for anything. And so, you know, I think that's something 2020 has taught us. You know, it's like, you know, it'll knock you down, but you got to keep getting up. And so I just, you know, hope and pray that the NBA makes it through. You know, we're in a tough time right now. And, you know, we saw in the bubble, NBA players did a great job. Hopefully they're still doing the same things outside of the bubble. So my hope is that we get through this season scot-free, nice and smooth.
It'd be so nice just to have basketball back again. Kyle, what's your favorite part about doing play-by-play, doing the pre and post? Like, what's your, when you reflect back, because I think sometimes people get jaded in this business. It's natural. You do it for so many years. It's like, it's just another game. It's just a Tuesday night game. But when you think about your job, what excites you?
Well, there's two things, you know. One is being at the games, you know, just the squeak of the sneakers, the yelling of the coach, the referee's whistle. Like, I just love all of that. Like, that, you know, excites me. You know, the game day routine, you know, I feel like I'm a player sometimes. You know, I have my own game day routine. Like, you know, I wake up, I do the research, I take a nap, you know, I get dressed at the same time every game day. That excites me. But what really excites me is being at the arena. You know, 11 years in Boston, I was able to walk in TD Garden, and those are like family members to me. You know, meeting the ushers, the concession workers, security. You know, it's funny because, you know, this is my family in my house right now, but I have an extended family at the arena, and I can't wait to get to the Golden One Center when we can have fans back and get to know the workers, the fans, the season ticket holders. You know, they'll become family to me also. So really what excites me, I love the game, I love the squeaking, but that feeling you get, and you guys know, when you walk into that arena, it's like go time. It's like, all right, you know, this is our comfort zone. So that's what excites me the most.
Was there an athlete that you idolized or was your hero growing up? It doesn't have to be NBA if it wasn't an NBA player. I'm just curious if there was one athlete that you just like wanted posters of or just idolized.
Oh man, should I really say this? Kings fans might get upset.
It's okay. It's okay.
Just do it.
I'm like a diehard Magic Johnson fan.
No, everyone loves Magic.
You're good.
I didn't say Shaq or anybody like that. You know, I'm a diehard Magic Johnson fan. You know, it's you know, I sort of like looked up to him. You know, even 40 years later now, 35 years later, I still idolize Magic. And you know, one of the things that I heard about Magic is that when you talk to him, he makes you feel like the most important person in the room. And that's something I've tried to adopt in my life, you know, and so I'm excited to get out there. But Magic Johnson, even growing up in Philly, you guys remember, it's like, you know, it's, you know, back in those times, sure, the Sixers were good, but it seemed like there were only two teams in the league then, the Lakers and Celtics. And
Yep.
I was a Lakers guy and a Magic Johnson guy. And so Magic was my guy growing up. And Iverson also. Like, I'm a huge Iverson fan too. But Magic is tops of my list.
Yeah, when you idolize a really good player or an athlete, it doesn't matter what team they were
Well,
on.
I mean, if he would have dropped Robert Horry or Rick
Well,
Fox, we'd be like, yo.
And I doubt that Kyle Draper was going to drop Robert Horry. And if he did, I would have been like, what? We've got to stop this interview. No.
What about?
It's a difference. Trust me. Even if I loved Robert Horry, I'm smart enough not to say Robert Horry. Trust me on that way.
Exactly. What about broadcasters? Like, who are some play-by-play guys that that inspired you or continue to inspire you?
Well, I'm gonna be working with one of them, Mark Jones.
Yes.
You know, and the thing I love about Mark, and this is something I'm trying to do, you know, when I broadcast too. Mark Jones is so true to himself. You know, he's not trying to be Mike Breen. He's not trying to be Gus Johnson. Like, you know, when you listen to Mark Jones, that's who he is. And I'm sort of, you know, trying to be the same way. Like, the same guy you hear on the broadcast is the same guy you're talking to now is the same guy you'll see at the grocery store on a Saturday morning. And so Mark Jones is one. Gus Johnson, obviously. Mike, like, I like them all. You know, I idolize them all because it's a tough job. And I don't think people understand how difficult of a job it really is. And those guys make it so easy. And, you know, when you talk studio hosts like Ernie Johnson, I love because, you know, from a studio aspect, Charles Barkley is the star, Shaq's the star, Kenny's the star, but Ernie plays his role so well.
You're so right. We've talked about this so many
Speaking our
times, and this
language.
is exactly it. Just the way
Right.
Ernie is vital to keeping it all together, and
Right.
people don't understand that. But he lets the others shine, and they're so
Yeah.
good at it, but he is so smooth.
Exactly. And so I idolize him too and the work he does. But, you know, I look up to all these guys that do it, man, because like I said, it's not an easy job. It's very hard to do. And so I'm fortunate to have that opportunity to do it as well.
And look at this Kings roster. It's great because now we're getting an outside perspective. You're coming in from Boston. You've seen this team. What jumps out to you? What do you see in De'Aaron Fox? When you look at this squad, what do you see?
I see a young, hungry team that I actually like some of the moves they made this offseason too, like some of the additions. You know, I hate to lose Bogdanovich because I was a huge fan of his. But, you know, I love Fox, you know, his lightning quickness. He's a blur, a Kentucky kid. I have a soft spot for Kentucky. I feel like he always lit up the Celtics. Same with Buddy Hield. Like, I'm a huge Buddy Hield fan. Like, I remember him at Oklahoma, you know, in a game against Kansas when he dropped like 45, I think it was, or something like that. You know, it was a top 5 matchup. And so my thing with Buddy Hield is that I love, he's not afraid of the moment, you know. Win or lose, like, he's going to be a gamer. He's going to be ready. And then Marvin Bagley, you know, I mean, they got good young talent, right? If we're talking about the Kings in the East, book it, playoff team. We're there. You know, and so the West is just so difficult. But I do like some of the moves they made this offseason.
Yeah, it's the West is just got better. You know, so many people really are questioning the Kings roster and go, well, it's not like it's worse than last year, but my expectations are low, mostly in the sense because of the West just keeps getting stacked and better, and this core is so young. But I mean, hey, it's a new front office too, so we might see a different style of play than even that you've seen them against the Celtics. So I think we're all going to be just headed into a lot of change.
Yeah, I think health is the key, right? You know, if Marvin can stay healthy, De'Aaron can stay out there. You know, if Buddy buys in and Buddy is, you know, great in his role. I mean, think about it. You could talk, and Halliburton, I love him as well. But when you look at Buddy and De'Aaron Fox, you can make the argument they're one of the top 5 young backcourts in the league. And so I just want to see these guys grow together and get better. And then you get a guy like Tyrese who can handle the ball, do it all, you know, a big guard. So they have some pieces, you know. One thing I'm excited about, and I got to mention this guy.
Yeah.
And you guys can tell me about him, Harrison Barnes. You know, the stuff he does, not only on the floor, but in the community as well. You know, I think a lot of people nationally might not give him the props he deserves, But I'm a big Harrison Barnes guy too.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think some fans are mixed on him at times, but what I've always said about him is you know what you're going to get. He's a true pro. Yeah. He can defend, which I think a lot of teams around the league would love to have a guy like that. He comes to play. If you need him to score 20, he can get you 20. But he just kind of fits in. And then you talk about the off-court leadership and what he does in the community, using his platform for good. He's a legit guy. And I think he's a very likable person.
And not only that, he's played on winning teams, so he understands what it takes to win. But then you're also hearing someone, the young rookie in Tyrese Halliburton, has connected with him during this time. And that's a player that you want your rookie to learn from, to understand, what kind of mentality you need to actually make it to the postseason, to have a winning team.
Yeah, I think that veteran leadership, man, is key. When you look at some of the young teams around the league that don't have that, it's hard for their young players to develop. And I love hearing that Harrison is sort of taking Tyrese a little bit under his wing because, that's important, man. And one thing, too, I want to bring up, too, is the fact that De'Aaron, pretty much stayed over during the off season. You heard him yesterday talk about wanting to be in Sacramento. This is the place he wants to be. Stuff like that is encouraging to me. And I think just with time, let these young kids grow. Luke is, a young coach also. Let them develop. LeBron and AD ain't going to be around forever. Even though LeBron just re-upped for a couple more years. They're not going to be around forever.
The guy's 36 years old, and he is still top-notch. It's just crazy to me. We say, it's not going to last forever. I feel like he's going to be playing into his 40s, easily. It's like Tom Brady. It's like, he's just going to keep going.
Is he really waiting for Bronny to get up to that level? Is Bronny going to make it to that level? And is that what LeBron's waiting for? Man, that would be crazy.
It would be. And I have a feeling we are going to experience that because every year I go, all right, we're going to see the decline of LeBron James just a little bit, right? But his greatness is still at the highest of high levels. And you could argue, Giannis winning MVP. You can argue why LeBron James should have been the MVP. And the fact that you could even argue that still, and he's 36 years old, and somehow he's going to look to go back to back and try and play with his son once his son can get drafted, it's pretty incredible.
It is. And I'm looking forward to, seeing those guys up close, 3 or 4 times a season, whatever, the schedule says it'll be. I've sort of gotten to see the Giannis's, the Toronto Raptors of the world. It'll be fun to see the Western Conference stars day in and day out.
Well, Kyle, seriously, we can't thank you enough for hopping on with us, getting to know you. We're so excited to meet you in person at some point, and we are so excited that you're in Sacramento. It's good. You see the stuff on social media. Everyone loves you from Boston. They all are upset that you're leaving Boston, and we're just grateful that you're embracing Sacramento and being a part of this community, man.
Well, thank you, guys. I can't wait, and I'll be out there next week. I'm ready to get started. Preseason's, a week and a half away.
Wow.
So I'm ready. I can't wait to get out there, and thanks for having me on.
That's a one and only Kyle Draper.